Prime Field.
This game was one of those nights where the final score almost lies to you, because 70-52 looks comfortable. It looks like UConn just handled business, punched the ticket, and moved on. But if you watch that first half, you know that that is not what this game felt like. This was physical, ugly, grindy, chaotic basketball. Notre Dame came in trying to make UConn uncomfortable, trying to contain the Stars, trying to turn this into a game where every catch, every dribble, every cut felt like work. And for a while it worked. UConn had just 32 points in the first half. The offense was stuck in mud. The flow was broken. The game looked like it was being played in traffic. And in that kind of game, when a 38-0 season is suddenly carrying real weight, when a 25th Final Four is sitting on the line, you need somebody to save the rhythm before the pressure gets catastrophic. That is why this ratings video is so interesting, because this was not just a Stars win the game story. This was a who flipped the switch story. Was it Sarah Strong being the calm two-way monster again? Was it Blanca Quiñonez detonating off the bench and breaking the whole geometry of the game? Was it the defensive edge from KK Arnold? Was it Jana giving UConn instant value in tiny minutes? Or was AZ Fudd's gravity still doing hidden star work even through a messy night? Let's rate the decisive players 1 through 10 so after UConn's 70-52 Elite 8 win over Notre Dame. And yes, we are absolutely asking the big question. Who actually saved Geno in this one? So let's set the table. UConn gets the 70-52 win over Notre Dame and moves to 38-0. But this was not a clean wire-to-wire offensive showcase. This game turned because UConn made a second-half switch. That is the word that fits. The first half was a physical struggle, the kind of game Notre Dame clearly wanted, where the Huskies were forced into messy possessions, and their primary options were being hit, crowded, and tested. Then the separation came, and the biggest overall number to remember is this one. 30 of UConn's 70 points came from the bench, nearly half the offense, against an Elite 8 defense. In a game where Notre Dame's whole plan was built around containing the headliners, that kind of depth is not just helpful, it is the reason the game broke open. That is also why this game feels like a statement about this team's identity. Geno has talked about this group having more options, more B and C answers than some previous teams. And against Notre Dame, that was not theory. That was the game. UConn survived the grind and then overwhelmed it with depth, defensive activity, and one massive X-Factor performance. So with that in mind, let's get into the ratings. I'm starting with Blanca, because if you are asking who changed the game, who created separation, who took a tense Elite 8 game and tilted it in UConn's favor, the answer is Blanca Quiñonez. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 58.3% shooting, and 4 made threes on 8 attempts in 30 minutes. That is not just good. That is a season-defining punch off the bench. And what I love about her impact here is that it was not only scoring, it was scoring with force. It was scoring in a way that changed how Notre Dame had to defend. The Irish wanted to load up on UConn's first options, make Sarah and AZ uncomfortable, and win the possession battle with physicality. Blanca blew that up. Every time the game felt like it might stay in the mud, she gave UConn fresh oxygen. The shooting matters, obviously. 4 threes in a game like this is a backbreaker, but the 8 rebounds matter too, because that tells you she was not just a microwave scorer, she was everywhere. She was giving UConn extra possessions, extra life, extra margin, and stylistically, this is why she is such a problem. The research calls her stubborn and fearless, and that honestly feels perfect. She does not play like someone waiting for permission. She plays like someone who believes the possession belongs to her. In a game to this tense, that kind of mentality is gold. My opinion? This was not just an X-Factor game. This was the X-Factor game. The kind that hardcore fans point back to if UConn cuts nets later. Because when a favorite is getting dragged into a grinder, the player who breaks the script becomes the story. And Blanca broke the script. And let me throw this out there for the comments. Is she the most uncoachable, in the best possible way, secret weapon UConn has had in years? Because sometimes the best tournament player is the one who is just fearless enough to ignore the tension that everybody else feels. 10 out of 10. No notes. In this specific game, Blanca was a savior. Now to Sarah Strong, who gets a 9.5 out of 10, and honestly could have been a 10 on another night just because of how complete this performance was. She finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 steals, 3 blocks, 0 turnovers in 39 minutes, while shooting 46.2% from the field. Read that defensive line again, 5 steals and 3 blocks. In an Elite 8 game. From a player who is also your leading scorer. That is ridiculous. This is what makes Sarah so scary. Notre Dame's focus early was clearly to contain her, to make life difficult, to turn the game into a wrestling match instead of a rhythm game. And somehow she still ends up being the calm engine on both ends. That word calm keeps coming up around Sarah, and it fits because she never looks sped up. Some players have huge games and it feels emotional, volatile, explosive. Sarah's dominance looks controlled. She just keeps stacking winning plays until you look up and realize she has buried you. And the 0 turnovers moment matter a lot to me in this specific game. Because the whole environment was built to create chaos. Bodies everywhere, physical pressure, possessions getting muddy. And Sarah gives you 39 minutes, 21 points, elite defensive havoc, and doesn't give the ball away once. That is grown player stuff. Geno talked about her accepting the huge responsibility of winning time. And this felt like exactly that. Not just putting up numbers, but absorbing the burden of the moment. When the game needed a stabilizer, Sarah was the one who kept UConn from drifting. The only reason I have her just a hair below Blanca is pretty simple. Blanca felt like the unexpected swing factor. Sarah felt like the standard of greatness we have already started expecting. That is not a knock. That is just how absurd her baseline is becoming. My opinionated take here? Sarah's calm disposition might actually hide how physically dominant she is defensively. 5 steals and 3 blocks is not just active. That is game warping. And if you are asking who was more vital to the second half pull away, Sarah's defensive destruction or Blanca's 4 threes, that is a real debate and not a fake TV debate. Sarah gets a 9.5 out of 10. Absolute star, absolute closer, absolute winner. AZ Fudd gets a 7.0 out of 10. And this is probably the rating people will fight over the most. Because if you just go by the box score texture, it was a mixed night. She had 13 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 5 turnovers in 38 minutes, and shot 41.7%. The 5 turnovers are real. You cannot ignore them. Notre Dame made her a physical target, and there were moments where that pressure clearly disrupted her. This was not one of those smooth AZ nights where the offense just flows through her cleanly. But I also think this is exactly the kind of game where hardcore fans have to separate clean from valuable. Because even when AZ was not having an efficient masterpiece, she was still a gravity threat. Notre Dame treated her like one of the first options they had to load up on. And that matters. Her presence bends attention. It shifts help. It opens air for everybody else. That hidden value is part of why Sarah, and especially Blanca, had room to hurt Notre Dame when the game started to swing. She also gave UConn 4 assists and 3 steals, so this was not some empty scoring night. She was still involved, still impacting possessions, still forcing the defense to count for her every second she was on the floor. My opinion here is that AZ's rating depends on how you judge star responsibility. If you're only grading ball security and shot flow, you will want this lower. If you're grading total impact inside a physical game plan clearly designed to bother her, 7 feels fair. She did not dominate, but she still mattered in a major way. And here's the comment bait question. Does AZ actually deserve more credit for this win because Notre Dame's obsession with her created the oxygen for UConn's depth to explode? I think that case is stronger than a lot of people will admit. So no, not a perfect game, not close, but still important. AZ gets a 7.0 out of 10. KK Arnold gets a 6.5 out of 10, and this is where your rating philosophy really gets tested. Because the offensive line is rough. 2 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 0 for 6 from the floor in 31 minutes. If you only care about scoring efficiency, you're going to hate this grade. But that is not why KK was on the floor. Her value in this game was defensive, emotional, and tone setting. The research is crystal clear on that. She was part of the rotation that iced and hedged Jana Hidalgo, and she kept bringing fearless energy all game long. Loose balls, pressure, disruption, edge that was her job, and she did it. And it was in a game where UConn needed to stay aggressive mentally. Even when the offense was not smooth, that stuff matters. A lot. Coaches trust players like KK because they keep the identity intact. Even when shots are not falling, the pressure cannot slip. The compete level cannot dip. KK helped make sure it didn't. Now, would I like more offensive value? Obviously. Going 0 for 6 is a real problem if it becomes a trend in games like this. UConn can win around it when the depth pops and Sarah is a monster. But there's a fair question about whether the defense alone is enough if the shot never comes around in the biggest games. That said, this rating is about this game. And in this game, her defense and fearlessness were good enough to matter. Not flashy, not headline grabbing, but absolutely part of the machine that wore Notre Dame down. My opinionated take, KK is one of those players fans will underrate on first watch and appreciate more on rewatch. If you go back and watch her possessions defensively, you will see why Geno values her. So yes, 6.5 out of 10. Limited offensively, meaningful defensively, and still very much part of why UConn's pressure never softened. Jana El-Alfy gets a 7.5 out of 10. And this is one of my favorite ratings in the whole video because it is the perfect example of maximum impact and minimum time. She played only 7 minutes. 7. And in those 7 minutes, she gave UConn 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 turnovers, and shot 100% from the field by going 2 for 2. That is efficient winning basketball. This is not about volume, this is about usefulness. Jana came in, did exactly what UConn needed, and wasted nothing. Every minute had value, every touch had value, every rebound had value, and in a game defined by depth, her performance fits the bigger theme perfectly. Geno has said this team has option B and C scoring depth that separates it from previous years, and Jana's stat line is a clean little snapshot of that. You know, maybe she was not the star of the night, but she was part of the reason UConn never ran out of answers. My opinion? These are the tournament minutes that can quietly become huge later, when a player proves she can enter a high-pressure game and immediately give you efficient, mistake-free production that builds trust. And trust becomes rotation flexibility. Rotation flexibility becomes a weapon in Phoenix. Should she earn more minutes off this? I think that is at least worth discussing. Not because you overreact to one box score, but because 7-minute bursts like this show you she can stabilize a game without needing touches designed for her. So Jana gets a 7.5 out of 10. Small minute role, real impact, no wasted possessions. When I zoom out, this game gets a really strong overall grade, because UConn did not just win, they solved a problem in real time. They did not get their favorite style of game. They did not get easy offense early. Notre Dame made it physical, made it chaotic, and tried to trap this undefeated team inside all the pressure that comes with 38-0. And UConn answered not with panic, but with a second-half switch built on defense, depth, and fearless role-player production. Blanca was the X factor. Sarah was the calm superstar backbone. AZ still bent the defense even through a messy night. KK helped keep the pressure alive. Jana gave efficient depth in tiny minutes. And the biggest thing of all is this. This team looks young, but it does not play fragile. That matters heading to Phoenix. Because undefeated pressure is real. The baggage is real. The expectation is real. But this game showed why Geno can trust this group differently. They do not need one perfect script. They have counters. They have options. They can win pretty and they can win grimy. Overall, the team gets a 9.0 out of 10 for this game. Not a flawless game. Not even close. But in terms of toughness, adaptability, and finding the decisive answers when the season was on the line, this was a Final Four level response. So now I want to hear from you. Who actually saved Geno in this game? Sarah Strong with the 21 points, 5 steals, and 3 blocks? Or Blanca Quiñonez with the 20 points, 8 boards, and 4 threes off the bench? And what do you do with the KK Arnold conversation? If the defense stays this fearless, is that enough in a title run, even if the shot is not falling? Drop your full player ratings in the comments, and do not just say the number to defend it. I want the real sicko ball breakdowns from UConn fans. And in the next one, we are looking ahead to Phoenix, because now the conversation changes. It is no longer just about surviving the grind. It is about whether this undefeated, young, deep UConn team can carry that swagger 2 more games and finish the job.
Prime Field